Chapter 7 Getting to Know Plants. Go outside and observe all the plants around you. Do you see that some plants are small, some very big, while some are just patches of green on the soil? Some have green leaves while some others have reddish ones. Some have huge red flowers, some have tiny blue ones, while some have none. We do see a variety of plants existing all around us near our homes, in the school ground, on the way to the school, in the parks and garden, isn't it? Let's get to know different parts of any plant. This will help us to understand the difference between plants of different kinds. Can you label the stem, branch, root, leaf, flower, and fruit of the plant shown in the figure 7.1? Color the parts of a plant. Herbs, shrubs, and trees. Activity 1. Look closely at the stem and branches of plants much smaller than you, plants that are about your size, and plants which are much taller than you. Feel their stem and try to bend them gently to see if they are tender or hard. Take care of the stem does not break. Hug the tall plants to see how thick their stems are. We also need to notice from where the branches grow in some plants, close to the ground or higher up on the stem. We will now group all the plants we observed in table 7.1. Some examples are shown. You can fill the column 1, 2, and 3 for many more plants. Fill column 4 later after studying the section. Based on these characters, most plants can be classified into 3 categories: herbs, shrubs, trees, and examples of each is shown in figure 7.3. Suggestion. Student can work in groups of 4-5 so that minimum number of plants are harmed, damaged. You may also use weeds with soft stems for the activities. Do you know what weeds are? In crop fields, lawns, or in pots, often some unwanted plants or weeds start growing. Have you seen farmers removing these weeds from their fields? Plants with green and tender stems are called herbs. They are usually short and may not have many branches. Some plants develop branches near the base of the stem. The stem is hard but not very thick. Such plants are called shrubs. Some plants are very tall and have hard and thick stems. The stems have branches in the upper part. Much above the ground, such plants called trees. Based on the above characteristics, can you now classify the plants listed by you and complete column 4 in table 7.1? Plants with weak stems that cannot stand upright but spread on the ground are called creepers, while those that take support and climb up are called climbers. These are different from the herbs, shrubs, and trees. Perhaps there are some plants in your school or at home that you take care of. Write down the names of any two trees, shrubs, herbs, or creepers growing in your house or school. Stem. Observe closely the stems of different plants around you. Note down different structures, parts bone the stem. Compare your observations with that of your friends. What do you find? Stems bear leaves, branches, buds, flowers, and fruits. We would require a glass of water, red or a blue ink, and a soft stem. Pour water to fill 1/3 of the glass. Add a few drops of red or a blue ink to water. Cut the base of the stem and put it in a glass as shown in figure 7.6. Observe the setup. Does the color appear in the stem? You will find that the color rises in the stem. If this is kept for longer period, the color appears in the veins of the leaves also. How do you think the color reached there? From the activity we see that the stems help in upward movement of water. The water and the minerals go to the leaves and other plant parts attached to the stem. Leaf. Observe the leaves of some plants around you and draw them in your notebook. Are all leaves of same size, shape, and color? How are leaves attached to the stem? The part of the leaf by which it is attached to the stem is called petiole. The broad green part of a leaf is called lamina. Can you identify these parts of the leaves in plants around you? Do all the leaves have petioles? Let us get to know the leaf better, taking its impression. If you thought that leaves cannot sign, here is an activity which will make you think again. Activity 3. Put a leaf under a white sheet of paper or a sheet in your notebook. Hold it in a place as shown in figure 7.9. Hold your pencil tip sideways and rub it on the portion of the paper having the leaf below it. Did you get an impression with some lines on it? Are they similar to those on the leaves? These lines on the leaf are called veins. Do you see a prominent line in the middle of the leaf? This is called the midrib. The design made by veins in a leaf is called the leaf venation. If this design is neat like on both sides of the midrib, the venation is reticulate. In the leaves of the grass, you might have seen that the veins are parallel to one another. This is parallel venation. Observe the venation in as many leaves as you can without removing them from the plant. Draw the pattern and write names of some plants having reticulate and parallel venation. Shall we now find out some of the functions of leaf? Activity 4. We will require a herb, 2 transparent polythene bags and thread. Do this activity during daytime on a sunny day. Use a healthy, well-watered plant that has been growing in the sun. Enclose a leafy branch of the plant in a polythene cover and tie up its mouth as shown in figure 7.11. Tie up the mouth of another empty polythene cover and keep it also in the sun. After a few hours, observe the inner surface of the covers. What do you see? Are there any droplets of water? How do you think they got there? Don't forget to remove the polythene bag after the activity. Water comes out of the leaves in the form of vapor by the process called transpiration. Plants release a lot of water into the air through this process. We will learn more about this in chapter 14. Why did we tie a cover around the leaves? Would we have seen the water evaporate if we had not tied a polythene cover? What makes the water appear on the polythene bag? In chapter 5, we noticed water changing into different forms in some of our activities. Can you think of these and name the process that makes water drops appear on the polythene cover? Leaves also have another function. Let us study this. Activity 5. We would require a leaf, spirit, a beaker, test tube, burner, water, a watch glass and an iodine solution for this activity. Take a leaf in a test tube and pour spirit to completely immerse the leaf. Now, place the test tube in a beaker half filled with water. Heat the beaker till all the green color from the leaves comes out into a spirit in the test tube. Take out the leaf carefully and wash it in water. Place it on a watch glass and pour some iodine solution over it. What do you observe? Compare your observations with those done in chapter 2. When you tested food for presence of different nutrients, does this mean that the leaf has starch in it? In chapter 2, we saw that a slice of raw potato also shows the presence of starch. Potatoes get the starch from their leaves and store it. Leaves prepare the food in the presence of sunlight and green colored substance present in them. For this, they also use water and carbon dioxide. This process is called photosynthesis. Oxygen is given out in this process. The food prepared by these ultimately gets stored in different parts of plant. We have seen that the stem supplies leaf with water. The leaf uses the water to make food. The leaves also lose water through transpiration. How do the stem and the leaves get water? That is where the roots come in. Root. Look at figure 7.13. What do you think is watering their plant correctly? Who do you think is watering their plant correctly? Paheli or Bujo? Why? Which part of a plant is in the soil? Let us learn more about this part from the following activities. Activity 6. You would require 2 pots, some soil for digging, blade or a pair of scissors, and water. This activity is to be done in groups of 4 to 5 students. Select 2 plants of same kind from an open ground and dig them out with roots. Take care that their roots do not break. Plant one of them in a pot A. Cut off the roots from the other plant and plant it in a pot B. Water them regularly. Observe the plants after a week. After both plants healthy, both plants healthy? Both the plants are watered regularly, but one is without root, isn't it? Does this activity help us to understand an important function of the root? Let us do an activity to study another function of the root. Activity 7. We would require seeds of gram and maize, cotton wool, katori, and some water. Take 2 katoris from some wet cotton in them. Put 3 or 4 seeds of gram in one and maize in other. Keep the cotton wet by sprinkling water every day until the sprouts have grown into young plants. After a week, try to separate the young plants from the cotton. Was it easy to separate the cotton from the roots? Why? In activity 6, we could not pull out the plants from the soil. Right. We dug them out. This is because roots help in holding the plant firmly to the soil. They anchor the plant to the soil. You have seen that there are different kinds of stems and leaves. Do the roots also show a variety? Let us find out. Activity 8. Study figure 7.16a and b carefully. Now look at the roots of the gram plants you have pulled out from the cotton in the previous activity. Do they look like the roots shown in the figure 7.16a or those in figure 7.16b? How about the roots of the maize plant? Write gram or maize in the blank spaces in the figure after matching the roots with the figures. In what ways are roots of gram and maize similar? In what ways are they different? There seems to be different types of roots, isn't it? Are there also other types of roots? Let us find out. Activity 9. Go to an open ground where many wild plants are growing. Dig out a few, wash the soil off the roots and observe them. Do you find out that all of them have either the kinds of roots shown in figure 7.17 or as in figure 7.17b? For roots of kinds shown in figure 7.17a, the main root is called the taproot and the small roots are called the lateral roots. Plants with roots are shown in figure 7.17b do not have main roots. All roots seem similar and these are called fibrous roots. Separate the plants you have collected into 2 groups. In group A, put those that have taproots and in group B, those that have fibrous roots. Look at the leaves of the plants in group. What kind of venation do they have? What kind of venation do you see for plants of group B? Do you notice that leaf venation and the type of roots in the plant are related in a very interesting way? In table 7.2, can you match the type of a leaf venation and the type of roots for some plants you have studied in all the activities so far? We have learned that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil, and the stem conducts these to leaves and other parts of the plant. The leaves prepare food. This food travels through a stem and is stored in different parts of plant. We eat some of these as roots like carrots, radish, sweet potato, turnip, tapioca. We also eat many other parts of plant where food is stored. Do you agree that the stem is like a street with two-way traffic? Write the name of the material that goes up in the stem and that which comes down. In the next section, we will study about the structure of a flower. You have seen 3 branches of a rose in figure 7.19a, b and c. Which one will help the best to recognize the plant? Which color did you use for the flower in figure 7.19c? Are all flowers colorful? Have you ever seen flowers in grass, wheat, maize, mango or guava? Are those brightly colored? Let us study a few flowers. Activity 10. We would require 1 bud and 2 fresh flowers, each of any of the following: datura, China rose, mustard, brinjal, lady's finger, gulmohar. Also a blade, a glass slide or a sheet of paper, a magnifying glass and water. Observe figure 7.20 carefully. Look at the prominent parts of open flower. These are the petals. Different flowers have petals of different colors. Where do you think that the petals are? In a closed bud, which is most prominent part in the bud. Did you see that this part is made of small leaf-like structures? They are called the sepals. Take a flower and observe its petals and sepals. Now answer the following questions. How many sepals does it have? Are they joined together? What are the colors of the petals and the sepals? How many petals does the flower have? Are they joined to one another or are they separate? Do the flowers with joined sepals have petals that are separate or are they also joined together? Fill the table based on the observations of the whole class. Add observations to this table from the field trip to a locality where there are plants with flowers. Fill the last two columns later. To see the inner parts of the flowers clearly, you have to cut it open if its petals are joined. For example, in Dhatura and other bell-shaped flowers, the petals have to be cut lengthwise and spread out so that the inner parts can be seen clearly. Remove the sepals and petals to see the other parts. Study the figure 7.22 carefully. Compare your flower with the illustrations and identify the stamens and pistil in your flower. Look at the figure 7.23 carefully. It shows different kinds of stamens present in different flowers. Can you recognize the two parts of stamen in your flower? How many stamens are there in your flower? Draw one stamen and label its parts. The innermost part of the flower is called the pistil. If you cannot see it completely, remove the remaining stamens. Identify the parts of the pistil with the help of figure 7.24. Draw a neat labeled diagram of the pistil of your flower. Activity 11. Let us now study the structure of an ovary. It is the lowermost and the solar part of a pistil. We will cut this part of study what is inside. Look at the figure 7.25 A and B carefully to understand how to cut the ovary of a flower. Cut the ovary in two different ways as shown. To prevent them from drying, put a drop of water on each of the two pieces of ovary you have cut. Observe the inner parts of ovary using a lens. Do you see some bead-like structures inside the ovary? These are called ovules. Draw a label and the inner parts of the ovary in your notebook. Try to find out names as many flowers as you can by asking the gardener or any other person. Remember not to pluck more flowers that you need based on what you have filled in table 7.3. Answer the following questions. Do all flowers have sepals, petals, stamens and pistils? Are these flowers that do not have one or more of these? Are there flowers which have parts other than these? Did you find any flower which has no difference between sepals and petals? Did you find any flower in which the number of stamens is different from the number of petals? Do you now agree that the structure of the flower is not always the same? The number of sepals, petals, stamens and pistils may also be different in the different flowers. Some of these parts may even be absent at times. We have studied some features and functions of these stems and roots. We studied the structure of different flowers. We will learn about the function of flowers in higher classes. We will also learn the fruits in higher classes.